All right, let's get started here. Welcome, everyone. I'm Everscared, VP Marketing here over at OneSpace, and so thank you for joining the second installment of the Client Success webinar, Create Your Dream Team. Today we've got Keigh-Cee Bell, a project coordinator here on our Client Success team, who will be taking us through how we will be creating a dream team for your particular project. So without further ado, welcome, Keigh-Cee.
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. A little bit about us. OneSpace has been connecting clients with a flexible talent network for over 6 years, but how do you know which of our 100,000 contributors is right for your assignment? In today's webinar, we're going to walk you through what OneSpace curated teams are and when you should use them, how to create custom teams in Project Center, how to search for contributors and, more importantly, who to search for, how many people you need for each of your teams, how to communicate with your team as a whole and individually, and a brief overview on how to manage your team. At the end of the webinar, we'll have a brief Q&A just to cover any questions you might have along the way. Let's go ahead and head over to Project Center now and get started. So first and foremost, what are OneSpace curated teams? They're pre-vetted teams of contributors with particular skills or interests. We have large, more general teams like the data categorization team and the writing team, which should be used when you want large batches of work completed at scale. But we also have some smaller, more specific teams like audio transcription or SEO writing. These teams have been chosen carefully based on their very specific skill sets and can be used to complete smaller batches of work with speed and accuracy. Right now, we have more than 25 different OneSpace curated teams, and we're adding more every week. These cover most of the types of jobs that are frequently completed on our platform, and if they fit your needs, they're really easy to use. So, how and when should you use OneSpace curated teams? To use one of our curated teams, let's head over to the Workflow Setup view in Project Center, where you configure your assignments. From your Workflow Setup page, click on the arrow on the Workforce tab, and then click Add Team, and check the OneSpace Curated Teams box. All of our OneSpace Curated Teams will appear below, and you can check the team you would like to assign to your step. Click Apply Teams, and scroll down. You can adjust the location of your workforce if you'd like, but in most cases that's really not necessary. Below that, you can select your workforce channels. It's important to ensure that OneSpace channel is chosen here, or contributors won't see your assignment. When you're done making adjustments, click Save and Continue. And that's it. Now that we have a OneSpace curated team, you're ready to rock with your assignments. And that's pretty easy, right? But let's say none of the OneSpace curated teams are quite what you're looking for. Then you'll need to create a custom team, which is also pretty easy to do. To create a custom team, let's head back to our dashboard. Click Create Team under the Workforce heading in the left navigation rail. Next, let's give our team a name. We recommend naming your team something that is very specific to the step and workflow they'll be associated with, so they're easier to find later. We'll go ahead and name this team Food Article Writing Team. Next, you'll want to give your team a short description. Again, this just helps you identify them quickly, so you make sure you choose the right one later. We'll type in Writers for Food Articles here. When you're done, you click Save, and you're taken to the screen to choose your team. This page has a search box at the top and also a handy list of OneSpace curated teams below. Since our assignment is article writing, let's start off by clicking the Senior Writing Curated Team, just to give us a good base of freelancers with strong writing skills. You don't always have to choose one of the curated teams for your base, but it's an easy way to narrow down your search pool quickly. Now, we'll want to search for people with skills that are more particular to our assignment. You have two options when searching for specific freelancers. First, you can search the skills listed on the bottom left-hand menu. These are the skills that all of our contributors have listed on their profiles, ranked in order from most to least contributors reporting this skill. This is helpful if you don't really know where to start, because some contributors can list their skill in multiple ways. So you could possibly say copywriting as one word, or copywriting as 2 words, or copywriter. It looks like for this search, copywriting is the accepted term, so that's the one we would choose if we wanted to choose that. For option 2, you can also search in the refined search box for a skill back up at the top. This also has its perks because while the listed skills menu is a good place to start, it only shows what people has listed in the skills on their profile. This search box will also search their biographies for your keyword. All right, so let's go ahead and really dig into our search. Now that you know the basics of how to search, the next most common question we are asked is who to search for and ultimately who to add to your team. We offer a few different data points for your reference to help you choose the best contributors for your workforce. So first, as we mentioned before, you can search for people who have specific skills in their profile. So for starters, let's search for copywriter up in the search bar. This narrows down our contributor pool to 92 people, which is still way too many to search through. So let's narrow our search results even further by utilizing the menu bar to the left. First, let's narrow down by number of tasks completed. Let's say this is a pretty complex assignment, so we'll choose people with a lot of experience on the OneSpace platform. To do this, go ahead and select everyone who has done over 1,000 tasks. Next, let's filter by approval rating. We'll go ahead and check the boxes for everyone with over 91% approval rating, just to make sure we have a strong team of experienced contributors who consistently deliver quality work. If you're creating your first team, the next selection, tags, may not be beneficial yet. But in the future, we do encourage you to add internal tags to your contributors, just to help you keep track of specific people, their skills, or maybe the tasks you want them to work on. The tags you create can only be seen by the admins on your account, so you can personalize them and make them as individual as you'd like. But since we don't have any tag contributors yet, we're just going to skip over this one right now. Let's move on to last login. This search capability is handy if you need to create a team that logs in frequently to complete a large number of assignments in a short amount of time. While this isn't always a necessary filter, we do want to whittle down the number of prospective contributors right now to people who are very active on the platform and ready to get started. So we'll just check everyone who's logged in the last 3 days. In the future, if you wanted to add more people to your team, you could always adjust this filter. We have a number of great contributors that work full-time jobs and don't have the chance to log in every day, but they're definitely worth taking a look at. Our next option is country. There are some assignments where location matters, like writing specific neighborhood or restaurant reviews, but it doesn't really for this one, so we're not going to check anything here. Then we have the familiar OneSpace curated team option. Here, you can choose people that are on specific curated teams that could benefit your workforce. For example, since we want to keep our smaller team of expert writers, we're going to keep senior writing team checked here, but we could check more if we wanted to. The next option is talent channel. This option can be a little bit confusing at first, so I'm going to explain it really quickly. There will only ever be 2 options here, OneSpace and your company name. Your company name will be your internal team or private contributors that you invite to the platform. If you only wanted to open your assignments to your private contributors or internal teams, you would select the box next to your company name and not OneSpace. But since we don't have any private contributors, we can't see our company name, so we'll just click the OneSpace tab and utilize OneSpace Direct. Finally, we're back to the skills menu that we saw earlier. Since we want our team to write articles, let's go ahead and check the article writing box. We do have a lot of highly skilled writers on our platform, but not everyone has experience or interest writing longer form articles. Choosing this skill makes it even easier to find contributors that are both experienced and also likely looking for longer article length pieces. All right, so now we have a pretty manageable pool of candidates to choose from. If you would like a larger workforce, you could simply choose all of these people on this list and add them to your team. But we recommend starting with a leaner team to begin with for ease of training your workforce and monitoring their progress. So how do you get to that magic number of contributors necessary to complete your assignments? While there's no one right way to do it, we have figured out a few formulas that might help you get started. So for our first formula, let's figure out how long it will take a contributor to complete our assignment. The formula for this figure is time allotted per task divided by 4 hours, or the number of hours in the standard part-time workday. and this will get you down to the number of assignments that a contributor can complete per day. So to make this a little more tangible, let's break it down for our assignment. Let's say we estimate it will take 1 hour to write our articles. As Amanda mentioned in our last webinar, it's best to give contributors a time cushion of about 4 times the amount necessary to complete the work when setting up your project. We recommend this as a courtesy to our contributors, so if they have to step away while working on your project to pick up their kids or make dinner, they'll still have plenty of time to deliver quality work. For this project, so if we estimate it'll take about an hour to complete an article, then we'll give our contributors 4 hours to complete these tasks. This is our time allotted part of our formula. Since these are longer articles and we're giving them 4 hours to complete them, and the average part-time workday is 4 hours, our numbers of assignments that a contributor can complete per day is 1. This is a really conservative estimate, and most contributors can probably complete more, but you always want to aim low here because you should never assume that your tasks are the only ones available to your contributors, and some contributors might have conflicts or need to take days off. Our next formula, we're going to calculate the number of articles we need to complete in any given day. To calculate this number, we'll take the number of tasks in our batch and divide it by the number of days we have to complete that batch. This will give us the number of tasks to be completed per day to reach our goal. So let's say for our hypothetical food article job, we have a first batch of 50 articles, and we would like them written in 1 week. To find the number of articles that need to be written per day, we'll take our number of articles and divide it by 7 days. So 50 articles divided by 7 days is 7.14 articles per day. We recommend just rounding up to the next whole number here to allot for any reworks that might be necessary in the process. So let's just say we need to complete 8 articles per day to meet our deadline. Now formula 3 is where formulas 1 and 2 come together. We'll take our answer from formula 2, the number of tasks that need to be completed per day, which is 8, and multiply it by our answer from formula 1, the number of tasks a contributor can complete per day. The answer to formula 3 is the number of minimum contributors necessary to work on your assignment. So 8 tasks need to be completed per day, and 1 task per contributor per day means we need 8 people for our workforce, right? So we're done? Well, not quite. As a best practice, we recommend adding at least 50% more contributors than the minimum number. This way it covers you on days when some contributors can't work on your project. This takes us to formula number 4. This takes our minimum number of contributors, which is 8. We'll add 50% to that number, which is 4, and gives us our final number of 12. Now, I know using these formulas can seem a little bit daunting at first, but they're pretty quick to breeze through, and they'll help you create your team with clear goals in mind. So based on our above formulas, in order to meet our 1-week timeline for 50 articles, we recommend a beginning workforce of 12 contributors. This number might seem small at first, but especially in the beginning of your project, it's easier to train a small number of contributors and closely monitor their work, rather than a larger workforce of, say, 40 or 50 people. After the first batch or 2, you might want to add more people, but in the beginning, we recommend starting with a small workforce. All right, so let's head back to Project Center. Now that we know we need 12 contributors, let's make some selections from our contributor search results. There is some subjectivity involved here, but some best practices for choosing contributors include profile completeness, approval rating, keywords that pertain to your tasks within the biography and skills, and also professional history that maybe shows the desired skill level or background in your subject. The contributors on this list are already ranked by relevance to your search, so starting at the top is really a best practice in this scenario. It looks like William is our first contributor, so let's start with him. We'll click on his name, and then under his name on the next page, click View Public Profile, and this will take you to William's complete profile. So let's take a look at his biography. Here we can see that he's been a freelancer with OneSpace since 2009. He's written a lot of articles for OneSpace, and he has a bachelor's degree in writing. That's a pretty solid biography. Let's scroll down to his skills and see what else he has listed here. Let's see, it says he is a lifestyle writer, an article writer, and that's pretty much exactly what we're looking for. Let's scroll back up and see what his approval rating is. These things coupled with his 100% approval rating makes him a pretty strong candidate for our workforce. I would consider adding him to our team. Let's go back to our search results page and take a look at another profile. Scroll down a little bit and let's check out Carol's profile. We'll open up her profile too. All right, wow, we've got another really long and strong biography here. It says Carol writes articles about food and nutrition, which is a great match for our assignment. And let's scroll down and look at our skills a little bit too. Oh yeah, she's got food and nutrition listed here, food and drink review, content writing, creative writing. She's pretty much exactly what we're looking for. While we're here, let's scroll down and look at her professional history. She's been a freelance writer and editor since 2012, and wow, she's got a couple colleges on her resume too, so she's pretty involved in academia and other academic initiatives. It seems like Carol might be a really strong candidate to add. I think she would be a great addition to our team. So let's go back to our search results page here. Since we have two pretty great candidates on this list, for the sake of time, we'll just review those two, even though we would actually need 12 to get started if this was a real job. So let's go ahead and add them to our team. So if you want to go ahead and click next to William and Carol's profiles here, you'll see that two buttons light up, and you can click Add to Team in the top right-hand corner. If you scroll down, your team will be right there, and you can add them to whichever team you'd like. After that, your teams will be applied, and just to make it easy and faster, you can select as many people as you'd like to add to the same team at one time, which is a real time saver when you're trying to build larger teams. All right, so now that your team has been chosen and you're ready to launch work, maybe you'd like to introduce yourself to your team or explain your instructions a little bit more in depth. How should you communicate with your team, both as a whole and individually? The easiest and fastest way to communicate with your team is to navigate to your My Teams page in the left navigation rail of your dashboard. To message the team as a whole, simply click Message Entire Team on the right-hand side of their name. Here, a dialog box will appear similar to most email UIs, where you can include a subject, attach a file, and write a message. Whenever you're done, you can just click Send, and your contributors will receive a message on their workstation account and also receive an email notification that your message is waiting for them. This is a new feature, and we're pretty excited about it, and so are our clients, since it's making communication with your teams easier and faster than ever before. Now, if you don't want to message the whole team and you just want to message one or two people, go ahead and click into the team you'd like to message. And then select, here, let's go ahead and select William. So you click the box right there, and then you click the message button there at the top. The same box will come up, and you can type out your subject and your message and click Send. If you don't have a person on your team or you can't remember which team you put them on, you can also search for people in Project Center directly. So from your dashboard, go up to Find Contributors, and let's search for Daniel Draper. Once you find Dan or the contributor you'd like to message, just check the box to the right of their name and click Message. The same dialog box will populate, and you can complete and send your message. After your team is created and they're busy working on your assignments, there may be some instances where you need to add or remove a few people from your workforce. Managing your team is also pretty easy from the My Teams page located on your dashboard. So let's go back there and go ahead and select the team you'd like to manage. First, let's say you want to add a new team member to your team. Simply click Add Team Members at the top of the page and follow the same steps we did before. You can use the same filters, or you can switch it up a little bit if you want to add a variety to your workforce and try new search keywords and new filters. Go ahead and head back. And now, if you want to remove anyone from your workforce for any reason, the process is also pretty straightforward. From your team page, check the box to the right of the profile of the contributor you might want to remove, and then click Remove in the top right-hand corner. You'll be asked to confirm this deletion, but once you click Yes, Delete Contributors, that person will be removed from the workforce. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Those are the basics of creating your dream team on Project Center. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us, and now let's head back to Aaron.
Thank you, Keigh-Cee. I appreciate all the info. It's a lot of good little tidbits and tricks in there, especially like the formula section. That's some pretty heavy-duty math for a content person, so proud of you. One quick question, as we let some of the questions filter in through the chat, is when you remove somebody, will that person get notified by this Project Center, or what is kind of that process?
Oh, that's a great question, Aaron. Actually, when you remove a contributor from your team, like we just did here, they don't receive an automatic notification of any time, but if they've completed any work on your assignments, we do recommend sending them a message and just letting them know why you might be removing them, just as a professional courtesy. This just alleviates any questions, and it'll also help our contributors improve if they were missing any parts of the instructions or if they were doing something incorrectly.
Great. I think the other really interesting thing that caught my attention and wanted to add, a little bit of additional exposure is the tagging mechanism. So being an internal tool, it does, I know a lot of our sort of seasoned and experienced clients have really found a lot of value in tagging their internal workforce. So as they're finding people that they like or have questions about, or just being able to better distinguish, like I said, I thought there was a lot of really good, interesting pieces of information. And actually, I didn't even realize you could view the public profiles and actually go really deep on some of these people that really dial in and some really complete profiles. So that was super helpful to me.
Great.
Well, if that's it, if we've got no other questions, I want to thank you all for coming out and reviewing the second installment of the Client Success webinar, Creating Your Dream Team. And so, Keigh-Cee, thank you. Once again, this is OneSpace, and we appreciate you guys coming. Bye.